This should have been our CCP watch segment. This is how we're kicking off the day. I'm sorry, with a bit of unwanted news, but we're going to give you some good news too to make up for it. But with the bad news first, the Las Vegas Police Department and federal authorities have apparently raided an illegal Chinese biolab. Not to worry though, the Las Vegas PD assures us that there is no greater danger to the public. Watch.
First off, I would like to just make sure that our Southern Nevada community clearly understands this, that this is an isolated incident and there is no threat to the public as we stand here today. Our joint investigation early this morning at approximately 5:51 began when the LVMPD SWAT team served a search warrant on a house on Sugar Springs Drive in northeast Las Vegas. The warrant was related to information that a possible biological laboratory was inside of the residence. At the same time, our partners from the FBI searched their nearby home on Temple View Drive. There was no threat found at that home.
This is one of the worst outbreaks of measles in years occurs in Southwest Florida. And as the bad-born, here we go again, a Nipah virus breaks out across India with a 90% mortality rate. Nipah is one of the pathogens that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was playing with before the COVID-19 pandemic a mere 5 years ago. With all this bioengineered chaos erupting around the world, it's good to know that a few states are taking the threat of bioengineered diseases and their purported vaccines seriously, like the state of Arizona, where the state legislature is moving to classify COVID-19 jabs as bioweapons. This is already occurring in the Sunshine State of Florida. And joining us now, our Arizona, well, she'll be with us in a moment. We'll have Representative Rachel Keshel. She got called into a vote, as often happens with lawmakers. And Dr. Joseph Sansone, he's the author of Mind Matters and Everything Else, Substack. And this bill that Representative Keshel has introduced in the Arizona State Legislature is actually named for you, isn't it, Joseph Sansone? It's good to see you.
Hey, how you doing, Emerald? Thanks for having me on. It's interesting because Representative Keshel was similar to Representative Shane Mecklin in Minnesota. There was no convincing needed. When I explained what it was, she immediately jumped on it, and we had to go through the drafting quite a bit. They kept changing it. We had to fix it and correct it. I mean, she was even working on this on New Year's Day. So people need to know that. And I think her website is keshelforarizona.com. And, people need to make sure she gets reelected because there's very few people displaying courage. So I just want to give Rachel props. I know she's in the middle of a vote right now, so we're not sure if she's going to come. But this bill, as you know, is unique because it recognizes that these mRNA nanoparticle injections and products are already illegal according to the existing state weapons of mass destruction laws. We use their non-feasance law there. So there's a criminal and civil penalty for non-enforcement. And people that distribute the MRA in the state, if it results in death, would actually be subject to life imprisonment. So it's got harsh penalties too. And so it's a serious bill, and we're hoping to get people to flood the legislature and the Speaker of the House. And I have an article which lists their phone numbers on my website there. And we need people to kind of flood them to move this through committee. And we're also asking for people in other states to pressure their legislators to introduce a version of this bill in their state. I have 50 state versions on my website. So the bottom line is the people we know and love continue to get sick and die from these injections. And they're kind of brainwashing everybody to believe this is normal. It's not normal when you see 36-year-olds having heart attacks without any blockages in their arteries and that kind of thing, or you're seeing these people getting cancers and all these conditions. And so we're going to keep pushing this. And I think the more states that do this, the better. These are weapons of mass destruction. We see autoimmune problems. According to Dr. Vila's preliminary research here in Florida that was published in COVID-19 Harms and Damages, a non-exhaustive conclusion, 74% of the people that got the injections have damaged immune systems, even if they're asymptomatic. So this is a ticking time bomb. We need to stop this immediately. A recent study came out by Hulsher et al. That was published, on the focal points and showing a very comprehensive case study after 3.5 years. The spike protein, the SV40 promoter, and the MRA were still were still present, even in the skin, which supports the shedding after 3.5 years. So this is a serious problem, and looking the other way is not going to fix this in any way, shape, or form. And I cannot condone the cowardice of so many legislators out there and so many phony patriots, because you are not America first if you look the other way while they're murdering the people we know and love. And so I'm going to keep fighting this until we get these off the market. As you know, my case is ongoing here in Florida. The governor and the attorney general need 90 days now to answer a brief I wrote in 10 days. So I must have did something right there. But Emerald, we're going to keep fighting here because these are weapons, and we need more states to introduce these bills and pressure any way we can to get these off the market. And
yeah, we do. And I actually think we have that courageous lawmaker from Arizona with us, Representative Rachel Keshel. We'll go ahead and bring her in and add her into the conversation. We're so glad you could join us. We know you had to run to a vote, but we really wanted to hear directly from you, Representative Keshel, because you're one of the few people who actually have enough courage to introduce this. So many of your colleagues in legislatures across the country are still playing pretend. Why do you feel it's important, and why are you putting yourself on the line out here to put this bill forward?
Well, hi, Emerald. Thank you for having me. Sorry about my tardiness, but yeah, this was an easy yes for me when Dr. Sansone reached out to me. You know, all through COVID, that was actually one of the reasons that I decided to even run for office. And then when I became a candidate, our elected officials down in the Tucson area were not doing anything to help people. They were telling people to wear the damn masks and things like that. So as a candidate, I started fighting for people, federal employees specifically, who were being told, get the jab or lose your job. And so I was helping them write medical exemptions and religious exemptions, and met thousands of people instead of campaigning, and then went, oh, oops, I need to get elected. So now that I'm here and can actually do some good, this was a very easy decision for me. It's very obvious that this is a bioweapon. It is causing heart problems in people that never had heart troubles before. Young, healthy athletes are having heart problems. It was just a no-brainer.
Well, and people who went out there during the pandemic and told people nightly to get shots, like Chris Cuomo, stay in your house, all that, he now revealed in a recent appearance on another podcast that he takes ivermectin on a daily basis now to counter his vaccine injury, his quote unquote vaccine injury. So the dam is obviously breaking. And if you even have propagandists like Cuomo admitting what we all knew was true for so long. Now, obviously at the moment, you have a Democrat, deep state aligned governor who would likely veto this bill, but you could potentially have a change in power if Representative Andy Biggs becomes your state governor, as he's running to be. And I know for a fact he would sign this. But what about the chances of getting support from your colleagues in the legislature? How are you going to garner support for this piece of legislation?
So, well, I think if we can get Andy Biggs in there, Congressman Biggs, which he has my full endorsement, he's amazing. I think it'll be a totally different ballgame with some of my colleagues in the legislature. And I think it would be easier to get that support at this point in time. I think some of them still are just a little bit weak in this area. You know, they don't want to be told they're wearing a tinfoil hat, whatever it is. But I think that this becomes so mainstream, as you just pointed out, that if we can get Andy in there, you're going to see a whole lot of good legislation regarding vax mandates. I think this would get some traction, as you said, with Governor Biggs. And so if we don't get it this time, we're going to push it again next time.
Well, that's good to hear. And again, we hope that more lawmakers across the country and other state legislatures follow suit, because as I highlighted at the top of the show, there could be another pandemic, right? The news coming out of Las Vegas is very concerning that a Chinese-powered biolab could operate right here in the United States under our noses, not to mention what our own government is doing, right? Because they've still been engaged in some risky research as well, Dr. Sansone. So this bill, honestly, bills like these could not come soon enough, because as it stands right now, the go-to response for any subsequent pandemic would probably be an mRNA jab, right, Dr. Sansone?
Yeah, and I'm even skeptical on those reports because if China were operating weapons of mass destruction on our soil, we would have retaliated. I think. How is that any different than them having a nuclear facility on our soil? But I don't know because I just heard of this, but I'm always critical. The thing is that they're killing our people. It's continuing to happen. We're all seeing it happen. And these shots are already illegal. I want to point this out. Any governor or any attorney general could enforce the existing weapons of mass destruction laws that they have in their state. Any county sheriff and a county prosecutor could get together and enforce the law. And there's a lag time between cause and effect. We're seeing critical mass happening right now with the Epstein files. And at some point, what we're going to see with this issue is critical mass where it doesn't matter of your party affiliation, because here's what it is. The largest voting bloc in America right now are these, if we go by their numbers, the 80 to 90% of the people that were poisoned with at least one of these injections. That is the largest voting bloc in America, and nobody's tapped into that. And at some point, that anger is going to boil up, and someone is going to tap into that because people have been harmed and injured, and they're just letting these criminals get away with it the same way these billionaires are getting away without doing the perp walk for their pedophile activity on Epstein Island. And you know what? These people are going to be held accountable. They will be held accountable. I can guarantee you that.
Well, since you brought that up, and I'm actually going to talk about the nexus of the pandemic and Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein in the next segment with Liz Crokin, so stay tuned. There has been no accountability as of yet. In fact, Senator Rand Paul says that he has reached out to the DOJ, with his renewed request for criminal indictments related to Dr. Fauci. Listen to what he had to say about that recently. Watch.
I've been working with Bobby Kennedy, and he's been very helpful on this. I have a good relationship with him. He's given us a lot of information, and we've looked at the communications. And in Anthony Fauci's communications, we now have evidence that he was telling people like Francis Collins, read this and destroy it. Well, you can't do that. The executive branch, when they communicate, they're required to keep their communications, and they're required to do it on government devices. So we have this evidence, and I've summarized it again in a criminal referral to Trump's attorney general, and I still haven't gotten action.
He still hasn't gotten action from Trump's attorney general. So, Dr. Sansone, I'm a little more skeptical that there's actually going to be accountability. That's something we're lacking across the board, whether we're talking about the bioweapon jabs or Epstein or others. But so that's why it makes your role, right, Rachel, on the state and local level all the more important. We're often just looking to the federal government, but can you just speak to the role of lawmakers like yourself across the states in our country?
Well, I think if we realized anything during the Biden administration, it was how important state sovereignty is. We saw what he was doing with the border. If we had actually had a governor here in Arizona who would have helped us secure the border, it would have been a whole different ballgame here. We didn't, unfortunately. So, yeah, I do think that it's becoming much more apparent that we need to use our states' rights in order to protect our citizens here. And for that accountability, I know that people crave it. My constituents talk to me about it all the time. And so it is crucial that we, once again, get a good governor here, keep our legislature here in Arizona, and can really start to change some of this at the state level for at least Arizona citizens.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. I don't think I have a chance of that right now for the next foreseeable future in Virginia. But I'm holding out hope for your state of Arizona. And real quick, I just want to point out, as we're talking about elections, often the GOP establishment don't like to talk about issues like this, right? This is a controversial one. But this is actually a kitchen table issue. This is a pocketbook issue, because with the disability data that Ed Dowd and his team has been putting out, that's going to have a major effect on taxpayers, which is going to have a major effect on the wallets of your constituents all across the country. Representative Keshel, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. We have to catch up more often. Thank you for what you're doing in Arizona. And Dr. Sansone, I'm so glad to see someone like Representative Keshel working with you to do the right thing for their constituents, and hopefully we can get some accountability. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.